Welcome back to Life Well Planned, featuring the 80-20-365 success system from Adam Vincent Gilmer. I'm your host, Gene Velitis, and here we are at episode number 3. You can tell your friends they can download this podcast on Apple iTunes or Spotify, and you can go to Adam's website, which is 80-20-365.com, and you can watch the videos as we progress. Who knows? You might be binge watching or binge listening, and that's fine. Or you can come back every single week and get a different episode. One thing that we do recommend, if you've been following along since episode 1, and it's really, really going to help you along, is to get a copy, purchase a copy of the Daily Planner. And you're likely saying, well, why do I need to do that? Well, the example I always give is if Adam got on the phone and he travels a lot and he said to me, come and meet me, and he didn't know where I was, well, I could get in the car. I could be driving around North America for the rest of my life and I'd never run into him. So just as we have signs along highways and roads, the Daily Planner will give your life direction within this course, and it will show you the way to get from A to B. I've always said, and Adam and I have taught this material for a long, long time, I've always said that most people are tippy-toeing through life, hoping that they make it safely to death. And what this course is going to do for you is give your life direction, and it's going to give your life purpose. Oh, purpose. Well, we've come to episode number 3, and one of the really big lessons in 80-20-365, and that is purpose. And Adam, for the longest time in my life, until I had a mentor like you and my various other mentors, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this, you know what? I didn't even know I was supposed to have a purpose. So let's talk about this whole notion of having a purpose in your life. I think some people are what we like to call unconscious competence. They actually do have a purpose and they're living it, but they don't even know. So let's start out with this whole thing, purpose in life. What does that mean, having a purpose in life? For the completely uninitiated who have no idea what we're talking about, purpose, what is that?
Well, it's like when a mom discovers she's going to be a mom, and she's got this little being growing inside of her, and she doesn't know if it's a boy or a girl yet. And you go, all of a sudden now the job gets put on hold. There's a bunch of things that start to change or grow. A lot of people say change. We like to say grow.
Right.
You're gonna grow by doing so. You're gonna change. And what happens is, over a period of months, mom becomes a mom. Right. And then, this beautiful little being comes into the parents' lives, mom's life. And all of a sudden there's life change, and mom is like in complete love. And, and the purpose of, even though mom was successful in her career or school or all these other things, she finally says, man, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to be a mom. Now, I'm going to equate that same thing as being your purpose. And, if you're a guy, it's a little different. Maybe you want to be a good provider. Maybe you want to have, investments and other things working, and vice versa for women too. I'm equal opportunity. I love women who take the lead in life. But at the same time, I'm equating the baby side of it as when you start your business, when you're doing something in life to make your life better, it becomes purpose. And that's really, what were you meant to do in this life, in this, what do you think your calling was? And it's funny when you sit down with, or you hear the interviews, and you go and Google this or face it on YouTube or whatever, and you can put the word purpose in there, and you'll see all these other people talking about how they found their purpose. They didn't find it out coming out of high school. Okay, actually, for some of the entrepreneurs out there, they didn't even finish high school, they didn't even go to college. Actually, for some of the billionaires, they didn't go to college either. They were driven by something inside of them that said this is what they were supposed to be doing. It was so important to them, Gene, that's what they spent their time doing, was following everything that would lead them to what they really wanted to accomplish in life, or be in life, or create value in life, their purpose.
Right. Now, there's some people listening on Spotify or Apple iTunes, or they're watching the video here on the site, or they've told somebody about this and they're joining us maybe for the first time after seeing episodes 1 and 2, and they're saying to themselves, well, sure sounds like a good idea to have a purpose. I'm not sure what mine is. And I know that you've devised a method where you simply have people answer questions, and the
Yes.
questions that you answer honestly lead you to statements. And when you put all these statements together, you suddenly, voila, I have discovered my purpose. So take us through those questions. What should people be writing down? Now, if you were wise, and I say wise, if you purchased your daily planner, you can follow along in your book as well. But for people who don't have it yet and they're thinking about this whole notion of me having a purpose, where give me the starting point. What do you do? What are the questions? How do I determine my purpose?
Great stuff. I was going through, I'm going to use as an example. It's not just let me throw out questions. I was going to use as an example because examples help shape and make us grow in life, life experiences. So back in 1999, I was like, man, what are all these successful people doing? I was, and Jim Rohn always told us to keep a journal. And when somebody would say something that meant something, write it down. And I was forever having like these yellow pads or white pads, but it wasn't bound, right? It wasn't like the journal here. It wasn't bound. Okay, it was like, and my papers would go all over the place and what have you. And I was like, man, what was that thought? What was that thing? And I'd have to go and try find it, and it just wasn't organized, right?
Mm.
And when somebody says something to you and it makes an impact, what we tend to do these days is like not write it down and say, oh yeah, you know what? Well, yeah, that's a good thing, but you don't make a mental note. And a mental note is really funny. We think that our brains are so amazingly smart. We've always told ourselves, make a mental note, but we forget what that is.
Right.
But if we write it down, great things take place. And that way you can refer back to that mental note and say, aha, that's where I got this idea, thought or idea from. And that's what led me in 1999 to say, gee whiz, wouldn't it be great to have a place where I can put this stuff together, like a real journal, and then a daily planner, and then an organizer, and then how do I plan my day, and then where my schedules go, and who am I talking with today, and what am I getting out of my day? And I started putting all this together. Aha, light bulb goes off. I asked myself a question, Adam, what are you good at? And for everybody watching this, whatever your name is, you need to ask yourself that question, what are you good at? And that means you have to search. It's nice to have a journal to write this down in. And you say, okay, where have people in your life said, you know what, Gene, you're very good at this. Or, Mary, you're very good at this, or whatever. And you write down what you're good at. Now, it's not one thing that you're good at.
Yeah.
It's multiple things. So what you want to do is write down all the things that you think or or you've been told, it's been communicated to you, what you are good at. And then when you get that list together, because you'll start out and it might be vague, and then it starts getting more and more detailed, okay? And then you look at that list, you might have five or 10 things written down there. It might be more for those folks who are really good at stuff. And then what you want to do is prioritize which ones are the most important to you. And by doing so, like, for example, I mean, I like to play golf too, but I'm not a pro golfer, okay? But I like it. I like getting out on the course, hitting balls, seeing how well you do, what have you, but I'm not a pro at it. In other words, I'm not paid to play pro golf. But if you get with a coach and the coach teaches you, hey, your swing's good, but let's work on this, stand a little different, your posture, how to hold your hands, and you start getting some direction on what you're already good at. Now you start to fine tune, like in the last video I talked about, or podcast, we talked about lining things up where the tuning fork goes off and you can strum the guitar and it's tuned, you can play the piano and it's tuned. You want to ask, as you're going through those questions, going through the question of what you're good at, and you prioritize them, you find out what you really, really are good at. And that's question number one. What are you good the second set of the second question comes in where it's asking you, what do you love to do? Now, I like to play golf. I'm not a professional at it. I can play with my friends and, you know, others that come and visit. And I'm using golf as an example because if I wanted to be a professional golfer, Gene, I would have to spend a lot of my time working on being a professional golfer, okay? And I'd also have to make a living at it. So what do you love to do? You know, you take a look at the Sistine Chapel, okay? Michelangelo, okay? And you say, wow, what a masterpiece. And we've been there various times. It's a masterpiece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but what you don't understand is his main calling in life at the time was he was a sculptor, the statue of David and others. And he actually sculptured out of marble incredible, lifelike, and very big, beautiful pieces of art. But at that time, the Pope came along and commissioned him to paint the smallest chapel, not the biggest one, not the biggest church, the smallest one.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't feel like it was his calling. If you go and read the article and the story, he didn't feel like it was his calling. But because he was commissioned, told, hey, this is what you need to do for, you know, spirituality in essence, he painted the Sistine Chapel. And I asked people a bunch of different questions about this. And I'm like, how long did it take Michelangelo to complete the Sistine Chapel? And if you've been there and seen the artwork, it's his masterpiece today. Now, he's got a lot of other things that he did, but this was not what he believed his calling was. But when he committed to what his purpose was, paint the Sistine Chapel, it became a masterpiece. And it's really great when you're walking around the Vatican and you go in and out, you know, there's noise, people are talking, but what it's really interesting when you walk into the Sistine Chapel, silence drops. Everybody's like this, and their mouths are open, going, wow, just looking at the figure of God and what have you. He created a masterpiece. So the point is, he delivered on his purpose, okay? And for those watching, he loved art. He loved sculpture. Actually, sculpture was his number one, but when he was challenged, he created a masterpiece. Very much like our lives now, it's like a blank canvas, like the blank Sistine Chapel, okay, or blank piece of art. And you are going to go and create your masterpiece. So, you know, what are you good at? What do you love to do? Next question, Gene, is what have other people told you you're great at?
Wow. And you know, that's really, really significant because many times in life, I've found that for some people, you can be staring right at something and not even see it.
Absolutely correct. When you have good feedback from people who care about you, love about you, and you already know, you don't have to go and ask them now. You already know, people said, hey, you know, you're really good at this. And you say, man, yeah, but you didn't make a mental note of it. But I'm asking you now to go make a mental note of it. The other thing, the next question is like, what do you love to do? And, you know, once again, you're going to have a series of things that you're going to write down of what you love to do in life. And then I want you to prioritize them into the most important versus the least important. Now, when you first start writing them down, as I said, one of them might be general, but they get more and more detailed. And then as you focus and you say, which ones are the most important to you, you push those to the top of each of these questions list. And you're left with 4 or 5 in each category from top to least important, top to least important, top to least important. And then you start to ask yourself, okay, if you were going to create a script around the things, those 4 or 5 questions, okay, of what you like to do, what are you good at, you know, where you've been told you've been good at these things, these questions. Now you can start to write a paragraph about your purpose of what you believe you have been put on this life, in this life to do, to make it happen. So for me, as an example, okay, and I have my purpose statement. You know, I printed it out and I put it in my planner. Okay,
Right.
and by doing so, I've also committed to it with signing my name to the bottom of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I get to read this several times a day. Now, my purpose is different from other people's purposes, as we're all unique and we're different. But I read it to myself several times a day. Once in the morning when I get up, I read it again. I don't read it out loud in the morning. It's just something that happens in my mind, and it's on my phone, and it goes off, and I can read it. And then in my notes section on my iPhone. The same thing happens at lunchtime. And then, and this is the best one, right before I go to bed, I read my purpose statement out loud. And it's so funny. I've actually fallen asleep many times into an incredible deep sleep. And I've been reading my purpose statement. And before I get to the end of my purpose statement, I'm like, I'm literally zoned out. And now I know this, everybody says, oh, well, it's hard to do. I said, okay, well then why don't you continue going through life, not planned, not organized, not specific, don't have a purpose, and not living your dream. And then you may get to live your life in regret. And Gene, every mentor and teacher and philosopher, people that I've studied have taught us not to live life in regret, to look at life as a learning experience of what to do and what not to do, because life leaves clues, success leaves clues, as we said in a couple episodes ago. And one of the biggest successes that, well, it was Michelangelo or anybody who's successful, who's building and working on their masterpieces, they're always engaged in it 100% of the time. When they wake up, they're engaged, right? When they're having lunch, they're engaged. They're sharing an idea, a thought. It's something that's inching them towards what they need to be doing in their life. And they're sold on it. Like I'm sold on my purpose statement. And when you're sold on your purpose statement, it's a commitment. And I explain it this way. It's when the conscious and the subconscious come together and lock in. And you feel like, I mean, I just got chills saying that here on video right now on the podcast. It's when you feel like you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. Just like I feel like I should be sharing this with everybody now, because when you find your purpose, it takes a big question out of what you're supposed to be doing, because you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you start following that. And I find that people who follow their passion, people who follow what they really love to do, whether it's making music or art or building buildings or building a business or whatever their craft is, they immediately have a much better outlook in their life, because they really believe they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's better to be safe than sorry. And you and I have had this discussion, and you and I agree that if on the last day of your life you have led a very, very safe life, well, guess what? You're going to be really, really sorry. So it's not about being safe or sorry. So for those people who are listening and who are going to answer the questions, for a lot of people, this is going to take them out of their comfort zone, because,
Right.
they may have a secure job, but in fact, maybe they want to be a pro baseball player. Maybe they,
Right.
maybe they don't want to be selling insurance. Maybe they want to be a baker, or maybe they want to be a cook, because when people come over, they say, wow, you guys should open up a restaurant. And,
Right.
and the couple says, well, we can't do that, better safe than sorry. So how do you take people out of their comfort zone and actually say, you know what, if you do have this purpose statement, it may make you feel a little uncomfortable, but like a roadmap, it'll start leading you in a different direction. What's your advice for people who are a little, quite frankly, frightened by this?
Excellent. That's exactly what you're supposed to be, is frightened, because because when we deal with fear has the incredible thing to do one of two things. It's either going to push you back and you're never going to do it, or it's going to push you forward because you conquered it. I remember when I was first starting one of my first company, and I was like, well, I didn't have enough money. I didn't know if I could do it, but I knew that if I didn't try, if I didn't move something forward, I would never know. And I would forever be thinking, what if I did, what if I did or if I didn't? And that's doubt. Okay. And this comes down to like spirituality again, faith. Okay. You've got to believe in almost the unseen, that your goal's going to come true, that your life's going to be where you want it to be, that you're going to build your dream. And not everybody sees that. Not everybody can see that vision right away. So it's not my job to give you the courage. It's my job to tell you that if you step into the fear of doing it, it's really not that bad. Okay. This isn't like, somebody's holding a gun to your head, right? To say if you do, if you don't. But now if you mentally make that a real picture in your head, and you say, listen, if you don't, you stay where you are. And if you do, you have the chance of succeeding. I'm willing to wager that most people would like the opportunity to try and succeed than to do what they're currently doing and live their life like where they're not supposed to be,
Right.
versus live their life where they've made the mistake and they can actually get there.
Yeah. Now, this also, when you're coming up with your purpose statement, it also goes back to the Wheel of Life, which was a previous episode. And, you know, part of the principles in the Wheel of Life are people. So as you develop your purpose statement, you know, there's going to be a time when you're going to run across somebody, and we'll talk about what a purpose statement sounds like in a second, but let's get back to the Wheel of Life. You're going to come up to somebody like the couple who cook at home, and they're going to say, you know what? We've decided to open up a restaurant, and you're really excited about it. You've answered all the questions, and this person is going to say, a restaurant? Don't you know that 90% of them go bankrupt? What are you thinking about?
Yeah.
What do you do with the dream stealer?
Right. So fantastic, because for every failure that there is out there, there's also those who have succeeded. And if you never try, you've already agreed with having failure on your side. And if you're a go-getter, if your person wants to make a better life, that's a non-starting option for you. Your option has to be to move forward. Now look, it's not easy to market. It's not easy to get customers. It's not easy to do anything to become successful, but it's worth it. And what you have to, what the listener listening, if I'm touching your heart right now and saying, it's okay for you to fail, because failure gives you feedback on how to do something better, or how to make an improvement, or how to accept it as failure and say, hey, I gave it my 100%, my 1,000% all. It's okay to fail, Gene. We've all failed in life, but it's also better for somebody to realize that their failures is what's actually led them to become successful. It's when somebody starts to fail and they say, man, but they're this much closer, this much closer, this much closer, this much closer, and they finally make it all come together. And then somebody says to you somewhere down the road, saying, man, you know, you're so successful. How did you become successful? What did you do? And the stories are a whole bunch of failures in between where we are now and where you want to be. You mentioned a roadmap a moment ago. You know, we're living in the United States right now. Can you imagine what would happen if we didn't discover America? Okay. You know, Christopher Columbus said, that's it, man. You know, we're not sailing out with these 3 ships. Where would we be today? Okay. And the point is that the world wasn't defined. We didn't have GPS. We didn't have a flight plan like,
right,
you know, like we do now. But he went against the prevailing assumption that he wouldn't, and he succeeded in spite of the failure. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And part of it is really having an incredible dream, which will shape your purpose statement. And again, you and I have talked about this. You know, Martin Luther King's speech wasn't called, I have a plan. It was called, I have a dream. Yeah, I have a dream. So when you get this dream together, when you answer all of those questions, what does a purpose statement sound like? Is it one sentence? Can you share a little bit of yours? Because if you're watching the video, your purpose statement fills an entire page of the Daily Planner, which you can get at the 80/20/365 website, your website. Can you share a little bit of yours? Can you give us an example of what a purpose statement is? Like, how short can it be? How long can it be? Is it one sentence? Is it 2 sentences? Is it a bunch of bullet points?
Yes.
Okay.
when you get good enough, when you've done this enough, and it's become a habitude, and that means a habit that's become a new attitude for you.
Right.
Yeah. It's one sentence. Okay. Like when my reminder goes off in my iPhone, I have my purpose statement written out and I've signed it, but I also have it popping up on my iPhone 3 times a day, so that I'm reminded to read it because I'm focused. Okay. But I'm reminded, hey, take a break and spend time on the purpose statement. But mine goes like this. My purpose statement is put together so that it makes me a better individual in my life. And I've got 10 areas that I focus on. Okay. And the first area that I'm focused on is I'm very grateful to be alive. I'm very grateful to be a conscious, living, breathing person that can not only share with you now, but, you know, continues to put out this energy. Okay. That's like step number 1 for me. Step number two is that I know that I am nothing in this life without having specific partners and people around me to help me achieve my life's dream. Every single successful person I love these people say, wow, they're a self-made millionaire, right? I mean, it makes it sound like that nobody else contributes to them at all to helping them make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I understand the self-made stuff, that maybe the person was like self-determined, and I can go along with that. But there's no such thing really as a self-made millionaire. Even in the public markets, if somebody invests money and then the market goes up, so there's a lot of other people that are driving that process behind the place. So, self-made is more like self-determined. Okay. My third area is I'm very, very grateful in my life for my family and the beliefs I have with the God that I serve. So it's not something that I said, hey, listen, I'm a great painter, I'm a great this, that, and the other. These are all the things where I answered the questions of what do I love to do? What am I good at? What have other people told me I'm good at? And I've listed everything out there, and then I put everything in writing. Now I have 10 items on my purpose statement, 10 specific things that I focus on. I just gave you 3. The fourth one is that I attract to my reality like-minded beings who will partner with me to help change the world and drive multiple 6, 7, and 9-figure incomes. Okay, so what that means is I'm continuously putting out this energy to attract the right people into my life, even now, even today, even yesterday. I'll do it again tomorrow, I'll do it again later on today, and so on and so forth. So that my purpose of helping make this world a better place, Gandhi said something really great. He said, be the change that you'd like to see in this world. Okay. Now, let me tell you what that really means. That means that if you start to be a significant person, you're going to attract to yourself other significant people, and it's your choice that made the difference. But listen, there's lots of other people in the world that are doing or wanting to be around similar, like-minded, purpose-driven individuals, and this attracts people to come together. And then now you've got a whole bunch of like-minded, like thinkers together. And when you have, 2 or 3 people working on the same thing, almost anything's possible. Okay?
Right.
And then if you have hundreds and thousands, same thing.
Exactly. And if you look at your purpose statement and my purpose statement, which I've had in my planner for years and years and years, and if you have any doubt whatsoever that this does not work, think of what Adam just said and look at what the 2 of us are doing right now on this video and on this podcast, because the 2 of us have a purpose of helping people become more successful and lead a better life around the world. Now, Adam and I just didn't bump into each other in the street. I mean, this, I always tell people I'm a broadcaster, and I always tell people, here's how this works. If you turn on your radio and you want to listen to 104.5 FM, you're not going to tune into 99.9.
No.
And Adam and I are on the same frequency, and people who are on the same frequency connect. And then we compared our purpose statement, and we wanted to do the same things. And I said to Adam a while ago, I said, you know what? We got to get videos up on your website, and we've got to do a podcaster, and I'm a broadcaster, and this is the area you specialize in, and let's do it together and put the word out. And lo and behold, if you're watching this today or if you're listening to this today, both of our purpose statements have become purposeful, and we're fulfilling exactly what we said we're going to do. So if you have any doubt that this doesn't work, you can erase it right now, because we're 2 handsome guys who are living proof. Well, maybe not handsome, but we're 2 guys who are living proof that this stuff actually does work.
It does work. And like the other thing is that, people say, well, positive thinking. Okay. Okay. It's important to think positive, but it's even more important when something negative happens in your life. You're in charge of your emotions and your control of how you're going to react to the circumstances. Gene, over this last December, this is a real story. Over this last December, one of my wife's best girlfriends got hit by a car. She ended up dying, and she died on December 25th. Okay. Now, I'm not bringing this up to be morbid or upset. We miss her greatly. She's an incredible person, and a phenomenal trainer, and a good friend to my wife and family. But here's the great thing that people have to understand is that bad things are going to happen in our lives, period. Okay, as well as good things. And how you respond to these things is really important. The reason I'm bringing that up is that we had to change our plans from going away to Tahoe and spending time in the mountains and skiing and snowboarding and what have you. We changed everything to have Christmas at the house, the family's over, this, that, and the other, so that we could accommodate, what we had to do with a loved one. Now, that's like a worst case scenario to go through, Christmas and this and that. But I'm bringing it up to you saying that, when you realize that all of us in life, okay, have to go through this process of living where we are now, and then ultimately knowing that one day we're not going to be here, okay? And I'm not making that specifically in our friend's case. I'm just saying that in general speaking, something is going to happen to us as we go along. So from where we are now to where we think our exit day is, and most of us have no idea when that is going to be, okay, what the exit day is. How do you want to live your life? If you want to live your life completely negative, things can't happen for you, you'll never be successful, what have you, this channel is not for you. This whole thing is not for you. But if you are hoping to have a glimmer of light, something change to make your life better, I'm sharing with you, Gene sharing with you what has worked, what is working. And it's not just working for me, it's working for thousands of other people that are on the system around the world. In fact, we'll have some interviews with those people in multiple different languages from different places as I travel. We'll call them into the show, into this podcast, or into the video here that you can watch. And you can see it working for other people. So it's not so much a revelation as much of it is saying all of us can have a purpose. All of you can have an action, but you've got to consistently do it over time. Just like going to the gym, just like eating the right foods. If a doctor came on and told you, listen, if you don't change your diet, you've got so many years, months left to live, and you knew that was imminent, okay, you would probably make the necessary growth changes in your diet and workout structure and life to make it better for you, so you could possibly be here longer.
Yeah, and you would do it on purpose. Think about that. You would do it on purpose, and that's what your purpose statement is all about. Adam, this has been a really powerful episode, man. This is
awesome, man. Good stuff.
All right, on our next episode, preparing for a life well planned. What's that mean? You'll have to watch the video or tune in the next time. Tell your friends they can download the podcast on Spotify or iTunes. Watch the video here on Adam's site. And if you really want to give your life direction and really follow along this program and get the most out of it, go to the site, 8020365.com, and purchase your daily planner, $1 a day, to grow and start really, really living a better life. Adam, we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Awesome. See you guys then. Bye-bye.
All right. Life well planned. The 80-20-365 success system with Adam Vincent Gilmer. For this episode, we'll see you next time. I'm Gene Velitis.